was like, wait a minute. It's probably time to go live, right? It is. Indeed, it is. Does Stream Elements have an app? This would have been good to think about before, you know, I popped my noodle in here, but I was tinkering with stuff in my on my on-screen setup, and I was like, wait just one moment. Maybe it would be best if I was able to do X, Y, and Z. Man, oh. Who's... I'm sorry, I can't see chat right now. This is why I was asking. You know what, might as well. Might as well just go into the thing. Oh. Aw, beans. Aw, beans. Who's done showed their mug around here? Elvie, hello. Hope you're having a good day. Yeah, let me just use Stream Manager. Hopefully no one like donates an insane amount through Stream Elements. I feel like that's the main thing that you gotta watch out for with Stream Elements. You know what? What if I try this? Oh wait, no. Boop, boop. Oh my goodness, pretty singing. Boop, boop. Well, I hope you liked it. I'm a picky as heck eater, so I rarely get to brag about eating foods with some kind of long list of ingredients and stuff, because my body rejects it. But I'm glad you're able to enjoy them. That's for the best. Enjoy having good taste. Eat this, that, yada, yada. Let me get this one. There we go. Love you a cabbage. Heck yeah. I've never been a fan of vegetables. That's part of my problem. I mean, I wasn't a big fan of meat, and to a large degree, I'm still not. It's just like you know. You force enough stuff into your mouth because you have to to try and live, and it's just like, well, some of these I'm into, might as well. Okay, I'm doing some stuff no one can see right now because I'm fiddling around with layers. There we go. I just realized something. Okay, because I just flipped this around originally, the background from the scene that this frame is from, and I was gonna do the same, except here's the problem. If I did that, then the boys would be on the wrong side. Walt should be on this outer side of the rudder. Willie should be on this inner side of the rudder. What's it called again? I forget. Is it a till? Because smaller ships don't have... Because this isn't the rudder. The rudder is the outside bit. The rudder is the part on the outside that in the water actually steered a boat. I forget what this thing is called. I don't actually have a boat, to my dismay. I'd love to change that, but I don't got boat money. I barely have car money. Yeah, freaking... If anyone was like, now, Cahill, I noticed you haven't streamed for like a good week into 2024. What's up? It's not because I didn't want to stream. It's because the one day I was going to stream specifically in the year of our Lord 2024, my car broke. And my family, like, I was like, okay, time to stream. But my family was like, no. Talk about car. And they did that right up to the minute where I was supposed to stream. And I was like, I could still stream probably, but then I was just so fucking stressed out. I was like, no more. Do a steamboat, Willie. No, probably not. I mean, they came out and said how hard it is to make Cuphead. So, and also, they're probably operating under the same thing I'm going under, which is like it's not gonna do a lot for you personally. It's not no one's gonna see it as particularly original if you do a Mickey thing, as opposed to if you just did your own characters. So might as well just work on my own on our own stuff. Anything I would want to maybe make centered around Mickey Mouse in his Steamboat Willie appearance is vastly outdone by how much I would rather be getting done my own creations and probably more well thought out ideas that I've always had rattling around in my noggin, but have never had the courage or organization to work out. That's the big thing I'm going to be working on this year. Just getting everything organized. I have a whole bunch of stuff that I'm planning to make sure happens this year. Yeah. I mean, heck, I love Mickey. Genuinely. I think I said it on stream. It's just like, Mickey, genuinely great. They're probably gonna make some not great everyone's like, someone's gonna make a horror movie. There is a horror game out, but honestly, as someone who kind of just like rolls their eyes at that stuff, I think the horror game I saw, I was like, oh, that doesn't look that bad, you know. I fully believe they were like, we want to do this, and we will dedicate ourselves to making sure it is somewhat good looking by the time Mickey goes into public domain, as opposed to waiting for Mickey to go into public domain and then just kind of plopping out an idea at the 11th hour, which is you know, that's how you make easy money off of it, which doesn't necessarily make it any better than when Mickey was just owned by Disney, you know. It's better that, you know, there's not there that the chokehold on copyright has ended, but still not better in a kind of artistic vision sort of way. But I have my own rubber hose concepts to get to. I was already planning to put like a Mickey joke in one of these cartoons at some point, centered around Steamboat Willie, before I even realized that this was like, it was like literally last this time a year ago, when I was doing my best to get work on this in spite of everything, without much organization, and with varying levels of enthusiasm. But with that in mind, now he's in public domain, so now I can just do it. I could have a 2-minute Mickey joke, and I guess I didn't think I would have to worry about copyright, given that it would just be a cartoon mouse, but no, I definitely don't. Because it'd be a cartoon mouse who is referencing something in the public domain. I don't know if I would call Disney as a company scary. I call Disney the company annoying, but I enjoy their cartoons. I still have respect for them and what they did in old days for kind of moving the field of entertainment and animation forward. Because, I mean, heck, we probably wouldn't have animated movies now if it wasn't for Disney a while ago. There's probably some debate about that, but Disney set a good precedent with Snow White coming out, winning a bunch of awards, blah 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 blah. Everyone liking it, everyone having emotions about it, you know. Sometimes it doesn't actually matter if you're the quote-unquote first to do something. Sometimes it's more important that you're the first to do it good. That's me, though. I don't know. I think about that because I do think accurate record keeping, yada yada, is important. You know, so being able to actively... I just realized I wanted to switch to Discord real quick to make sure no one's in it, but the way I have my setup on screen right now, it'd be hard to do that. Okay, we're good. But you kind of realize, like, let's say it's like this was the first time X happened, and then someone comes in with a wait, no, actually this was the first time it happened. It's like, oh, it is, and then you kind of go look at that, and it's like, oh, I don't necessarily like this as much. Actually, I don't know if that's bias or if it kind of is objectively just like not quite as good. It definitely didn't catch on as much as the other. Because everyone's saying yada yada yada. So it'd probably just be better for people to consciously know, like, it wasn't the first, you know, with any given subject, but it did popularize it. So if that thing is the first, you can say it was the first and it popularized it. But I think popularize should be more the active word in the title at this point. Try and keep everything accurate, as well as also recognize certain works' achievement in the historical context. Okay. This is so hard to do. I'm trying to make the boys tippy tap on their tippy toes in this scene. And like, I just need to go for like a very... I can't just do necessarily like a straightforward thing. I have to make sure that it looks good in context. And like the pose is good and everything. Speaking of, let me bring this head up more, because this is not where it should be down here. I believe this is a Hollow Knight song, if I'm not mistaken. I only recently made this playlist. This might be False Knight or Hornet. It's one, I'm pretty sure it's one of the bosses. Wrong one. Wrong layer. Yeah. I need to get better at making good playlists for art streams. And honestly, probably just for general streams. But I don't know. I've said so many times. I'm no music man. I'm no... Is that... There's a musical called Music Man, isn't there? Which is not very creative in the name department. But regardless. Oh, it's hot. When did it get hot? It's been cold all day. Maybe I'm just coming down with a cold of some time. That would be about right for my life. See, I went more orchestral with this one, LV, but I don't know if I should do fully calming, just because I think I would just sleep. I think I would, especially given how that my streams have become as late as they have been. I think at this point, maybe, you know. Also, I don't want to. I don't plan to make it a habit that the boys are upset a lot. It's 3 a.m. Oof. Oofa doofa. Get sleep, Alfie. Always make sure you're getting lots of sleep. Sleep is so important. I'm a big advocate for sleep. In our day and age. Oh no. I've thought about that a lot. I continue to think about it a lot. About how much sometimes work is prioritized over things like rest and health. So always make sure you're being safe and healthy out there. But the thing now, yeah. I like to draw the boys with kind of a perpetual cartoon smile. Like that's their default. It's just a very happy-go-lucky bunch. But here they are going to be very distressed. And also we have a new emote nowadays. And just made this very recently. Naps are good. I will accept naps. Made this new emote. I'm very happy with it. Sometimes I just like, because sometimes the art for a kind of default emoji, whether it's here or on your smartphone of choice, like it doesn't accurately reflects to me what the text emoticon is getting across. So sometimes I just like to make that a face in its own, and I did that there. I titled it Grumpy. Bring out the parrot. I can bring out a parrot. Let's bring us out a boy do. Love me a boy do. But yeah, that gives me very distinct harumph energy. That our new emote. I replaced it with menacing because I don't think a lot of people use menacing, and I wanted something. And we do have a lot of very smiley emotes, which I mean I think is very each reflect a slightly different emotion and are reflective of what I'm going for. But I decided to switch it out for a very indignant. I decided to switch menacing out for a very indignant. Just I just imagine switching to that face when someone says something. It's just like, hey, not seriously mad, but just like. Whether you're in my chat or someone else's, I hope you're not watching someone with the who's giving you a reason to be seriously mad. I was talking to Deja just yesterday or today, I don't know. I've been. Yesterday was all work. Today was all sleepy. So hard to distinguish the two. But I try to live a very stress-free life, and honestly, I'd recommend that. Heck, I was working in the hospital last night, and someone was nervous about their blood pressure. No better way to keep blood pressure down than diet, but also making sure you're not stressed. Oh, I mean, basically that, LV. That and learning, you know. You get a feel for them things with so much practice, and then on top of it, you just also do what you just said. Or just like, I did it a million times. And most of them were wrong, and this one is slightly less wrong. If you ever look at an animation of mine and are like, wow, Cahill did good on that, I can assure you, my thought is that I did mediocre, and that it just kind of gets the idea across without actually being a good case of animation. So I'm curious what the likes of James Baxter thinks of any of one of their pieces of animation. I'm just doing this in CSP. I'm doing good old frame-by-frame animation. So, so I literally just draw a doodle, and then I, you know, draw the next one, and then I'll put that in an editing program soon enough. I ain't no fancy man. Smage, hello. How are you doing, Smage? Yeah. Honestly, Asprite might be better, just because I mean, CSP has native animation tools, but I just prefer, at that point, I prefer just doing it my way. You know? I don't have to kind of argue with the program. I can just do frame by frame by frame. And work it out myself. Yeah, exactly. So at that point, it's just like, I mean, it's essentially the same thing no matter what, you know, drawing frame by frame. Whether it's layers or the program actually sees it as a frame, that don't make no difference to me. What makes a difference to me is the interface. And I prefer the just normal drawing interface. And I prefer not being on a subscription model for my art program. So I bought this before CSP tried to do a subscription model. Even though I didn't actually, I don't subscribe to it because I don't like that kind of payment service. But like they were just like, okay, this part you can buy, this version you can buy, and then any future versions will be a subscription plan. And I was just like, that kind of makes sense. I'm still not going to do it though. Unless I'm misremembering it wrong. If they've done that, if they've capped longer animations behind a paywall, then that's definitely bad. But again, I don't mess with it. Honestly, there's lots of ways to just do animation the old school way. So, but yeah, new year, new Cahill. There's so much there. You know, there's lots of people who are like, the new year doesn't actually matter. If you want change, do it immediately. Start now. You know, it's just 2 days apart from each other, but 2023 was pretty ass for me, so I'm glad to be out of it. Glad to be moving on to the new year. Heck, I did so much work. I've done so much work this year, like just in the last 4 months of having my most current job, that I do not have to worry about working like basically any holidays this year, which I think is good. So, I mean, I hope so. As far as I understand everything to work, that should be accurate. But we'll see. Oh, we'll always see. What with the capitalism and whatnot. Oh my goodness. But yeah. Also, let me just say, let me do some business things with Stream real quick, if you'll allow me. We're doing monthly goals again. It's been a while because the last two were just for charity and it was Christmas and all, so I was like, no monthly goals, but we're back to that. So if you want to help support me and Stream, consider helping us reach that. I was thinking if we reach this specific one, we do a Kirby's Adventure stream on the OG NES. And, you know, if that goes well, maybe we'll keep having these be for like, oh no. Oops. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Better. That was weird. Anyway, we'll keep doing Kirby. I love me a Kirby. And also, we are 10 subs away from a new animated and tier 1 emote slot. So, if anyone wants any of those, I just wanted to broadcast it and move on. Because y'all were very generous. Yeah, even around Christmas time. So, let me not pretend like, you know. Let me not pretend that people hanging out around here. What does that mean? Does that mean you're just going to gift 10 subs? Time for another mortgage. No. Take care of yourself first. I don't know when the last time I said that was. Again, because last time it was for charity. But always make sure yourself comes first. Even if you're like, but Cahill, I want to support you. First off, just hanging out in chat. Helping that good old viewer count is more than enough for me. But in a similar mindset, how are you going to support anything if you can't support yourself? You gotta take care of yourself first. Give to charity. Exactly. Give to charity because I said so, and then I can take credit for it. What's mortgage? I do not know. And LV, if I'm being honest, I hope to never find out. Sometimes I'll tell people about my wacky move-out schemes. And I told one friend a while ago, and they're like, well, you can't mortgage that. And I was like, I don't know what a mortgage is, if I'm being real. So... See, Smage said words about mortgage there, but still beats the stuffing out of me what that actually means. Yeah. Oh my lord. Legitimately, I might consider moving to where my grandparents live. Because they don't technically live in an old folks' place. There's a lot of old folks there, but it's just like, you know, a place. It's just homes for rent. And I've always loved their place. And it doesn't seem like a bad deal. Well, maybe the bank should consider sucking my butt. Smage, has the bank has your bank considered sucking my butt? Smage, if your bank gives you any trouble about your mortgage, tell them, here, this is my bud Cahill. He has been telling me to tell you that you need to suck his butt. And then that should settle it. Yui! Yui! Oh my goodness. Yui with the first raid of 2024. Let's see what Yui was doing. It just occurred to me. Yeah, that doesn't tell me what Yui was doing. Yui, were you playing some Ocarina of Time? Okay, well, hey, time to delete that person. That's a bot. That's wildly a bot. And I don't blame Yui for that. Lord. I hope you had a good Splat 3, Yui.
The only shooter game I play is Fortnite. Because I get the epic dubs. And then I do a silly dance as Peter Griffin.
Oh, that's nice. We love a Juice here. Juice is absolutely fantastic. One of my besties. But yeah, my voice is kind of going recently. Which I imagine is more so because of work than anything. But, I mean, I spent today largely not vocally talking to anyone. More text than anything. So, maybe I should, like, take a cough drop tomorrow and make an even more conscious effort to talk less. I'm going to lunch with Deja tomorrow, so that won't happen. I will be sure to, like, take a cough drop or something. Do my red bumper, yellow bumper. What's that? Red baby belly bumpers. There's a couple vocal warm-ups. Stacy. I hate Stacy. It's just a warm-up. It's just... Man, we love stealing bits from the Game Grumps here. If the bit is more than 6 months old, then it falls into public domain. So, it's a different law for bits than cartoons. So, you know. I basically get free reign on all the classics Game Grumps material. Speaking of some competitive games, so I finally got my physical copy of Mortal Kombat 1 delivered after actually getting a PS5, which I didn't think was going to happen ever at this rate. And I was playing it, and I have awful news. The PS5 controller is bad. At the very least for fighting games. Heck, I looked up about fighting game controllers for PS5, and one of the first things I saw was, hey, the D-pad on the PS5 controller is bad. I don't know how wide of a consensus that is, but that was enough to validate me. Especially because I started... The first fighting game I've really been able to get into is DBFZ. And I did that on the Nintendo Switch with its Pro controller, which is a great controller. Everyone loves a Pro controller, especially when they don't drift. So after that, I tried Mortal Kombat 1 on PS5, and the game is great. Love the game. With the controller, could use some work. I know I shouldn't blame my equipment, but it did occur to me in the process of being like, should I? And I was just like, I don't like I don't like the way I have to move my thumbs to do any sort of good things in this. So I just kind of decided I'll get a fighting game controller. I just kind of ate the cost on that. I don't know if anyone else was here, but my car had some issues recently. My sister was in a car accident. I've said that a lot to patients at the hospital. Just because she was treated at that hospital, like, she was fine. But, a little scratched up. She went to the hospital I worked at to get better. So I was like, I trust this place. I trust this place with my own sister. So, but she needs a car to get around, so she's been borrowing mine. But there's only been complaints about my car. It's a good car. It's an old car. But one, I've seen what bad old cars look like, okay? I've been in a few bad old cars. Mine needs a little touch-up, and maybe some mechanical tune-ups. And the mechanical part came sooner rather than later. Because the check engine light came on while I was not driving the car. So I took it to someone, they're like, this specific part is bad. And I was like, that's it? And they're like, yep. And I was like, sick. So it's mostly just the one thing. And that's much better than hearing, well, it's time to throw the car out. Because that's what we don't want to hear. That goes from anywhere from like a couple $100 to a couple $1,000, and I'm not down for that. Not now, hopefully not anytime soon ever. So, I did that. Just and then Christmas gifts, yada yada yada. Money. Honestly, I'm tired of thinking about money. The only bearing money has on me right now is, I guess, groceries and also moving out. That's what I'm hoping to do. Move out soon. So I appreciate anyone helping support me on streams. Because that's either getting me food in my belly. Ah, SpongeBob. I'm trying to choke Mr. Crab out of my dying throat. Or helping me save to move out sometime soonish. And I appreciate it. I'd love to only stream. If I could have the bare necessities of streaming alone and nothing else, I'd be like, good life. That's what I'm saying, stress-free life. Stress-free, if you're trying to be like, yeah, I'd like to live stress-free, but also I must think about money, then that's not stress-free. I haven't seen Wolf of Wall Street, but I wouldn't call it a stress-free environment from what I know about it and what I've seen. You know? I don't think Leonardo DiCaprio's character in Wolf of Wall Street was like, yep, I don't worry about a thing. If I didn't actively commit crimes every day, everything would be fine. I wouldn't have to worry about it. I don't think that's what that movie is about. Again, I haven't seen it, but like, you know. That's kind of what Kuro in One Piece was about, huh? He was like, yeah, I kind of like being a pirate, but like I'm so tired of the stressful parts of it, you know? He was like, I don't want to. So fucking, oh, I'm just gonna change my identity and do secret murders. Kuro said, fucking, I don't want to be a pirate, it's too stressful. I'll just be a secret serial killer instead. Captain Big with the second... I'm sorry, Big. Big, I'm sorry. You were too late. You're the second raid of 2024. Yui got here before you. Robbie Wasabi, that's an amazing name. Thank you, everyone. I was about to shout out Robbie Wasabi, which is honestly probably the correct thing to do. That's a very good emote, Big. But first comes Big. We were just talking about One Piece too. I know. Everyone like fucking look at stream and they're like, Cahill, you like pirates too? I couldn't tell. I was talking about being stress-free and how an early villain of One Piece is kind of a villain because he doesn't want to be stressed out. Bronze! Well, that's about all we can do then. Everyone should already be following Shadow Mage. I think both of my shoutouts are on cooldown. But make sure to be make sure to follow Shadow Mage. He's great. Plays a lot of that rock and stone game. But anyway, Luffy's response to the stressfulness of pirating is to just be the strongest pirate in the fucking world, so. Oh, too late. Too late, Smage. You're getting praised.
Get wrecked, nerd. Oh, you didn't want affection for your epic gamer W? Well, that's too bad. Because I've decided to do it anyway.
Dirt on stream and OGs. Is that a different name? I don't know. I feel like Shadow Mage tells me about a game, and then I see a lot of other people obsessing over it. I know the big one is Vermintide. That one I know for sure. I don't know if that's the Rock and Stone game. Deep Rock Galactic is the Rock and Stone one. Got it. I know games my friends like. And I know things about those games. But fucking Lord help me if I could line it up. I can't. I truly am an odd. Should we get an autism emo? What's a good because so again, we are 10 subs away from a new emote slot, but we already have like 4 animated emote slots open. What would be a good... I don't want to just do like autism creature. Probably something to do with hyperfixations. I know I was saying one of the ones I want to do is one of the... Probably Willy, because I think they're about even right now. And I think Willy could use another good animated emote. But you know the Among Us emote? Where it's like... this is like... crewmate head. And then... Big Dumpy. and then it's throwing it in a circle. Yeah, I wanna make one of those emotes. That's one of those emotes where it's like, I don't care how many of them exist on the internet, there needs to be another. I need I need to be able to help create an army of dumpy shaking emotes at any given point. But anyway, you know, if Captain's Big Chat is still here, let me tell you a little bit about what we're working on right now. So, Cahill Comic. Let me give you the brand pitch. Cahill Comics isn't just my username. I want it to be my cartoon studio. So I'm currently setting up a proper website to host cartoons and comics out of. The first month, which will be the end of January, will be a comic emote, which is The Man Who Can't Do Anything, my sci-fi comic. It stars this character, Alex. But we're currently working on our cartoon right now. Squarespace. I actually don't know if it's hosted by Squarespace. I use Weebly, but it's like log in with your Squarespace account, and I was like, so is this just like a branch of Squarespace? Squarespace, if you wanted to sponsor me, I'd be more than happy to do that, actually. But regardless, this is our cartoon, which is the Wallop Brothers, which is attempting to be accurate recreation of classic 1920s and 30s black and white cartoons. More 1930s with how much art detail goes into it, but regardless. About 2 brothers exploring an ocean. I do have a map of the world. A proper map. That shows you kind of the different locations and cultures that currently live within it. The stand-in for the kind of like, you know, British Navy, the Royal Crown in this pirate world, is the United Trade Islands, or as everyone likes to call them, the UTI, which is just a handy shortening of it. So you'll see a lot of really proper ships pull into port with a lot of soldiers bringing in different goods from around the world, just labeled UTI all over it. Of course, it is kind of a weird. It's a collection of islands more brought together by capitalism, but by kind of like the collaboration of business. But it is a large business, and there is kind of a monarch of it. So you do have the Queen of UTI, you know, Queen Elizabeth of the UTI. I need everyone to know that I didn't do that on purpose for about 2 seconds when I thought of the name. And then I realized what it would spell. And then I thought, wait, no. That's too fucking funny not to. So I was like, okay, so it is the UTI. There's lots of treasures to find in the world. Because remember, everyone, colonialism is just an infection. Yeah. This isn't really inspired by One Piece. Like, I've had these characters, these two, since I was like 8. Because I wanted a pair of comedic comedy characters that I could work with. So their design has changed a little. They were actually Pokemon OCs at first, which is why they both have baseball caps on. But then I quickly decided, what would be better than that, but just making my own cartoons like Mickey Mouse. But I've been obsessed with pirates before that. The one thing that has inspired this from One Piece, though, is in the Jaya arc, a minor antagonist lists the One Piece along with fictional treasures, like El Dorado, and other like Jewels of the Sea. Like, he lists the One Piece, the inherently fictional in-universe treasure, next to well-known legendary treasures from the real life. And in creating a piratey world for my boys to play around in, I was like, wouldn't it be cool if it was all just like cartoony, and the big treasures of the world were like from folklore and old fairy tales? I think that would be neat, so I'm doing it. I'm gonna make sure I publish the website in a. There's a couple polishes it needs, on top of just needing to have content on it, but that'll be at the end of the month, and then I'll start posting stuff to that on top of any other applicable social medias. But I'm planning to update the cartoon with about a 1-minute segment every 2 months. And I do want to be clear with y'all. 12 frames a second times 60 seconds is 720 drawings. So, I'm gonna do loops because that's how you animate, but 720 divided by 60, I would have to draw. Oh, right. Man, I'm bad at math. There are, in fact, 60 days in 2 months, at least, unless we're doing February. And February is coming up. Man. Do y'all ever think about, okay, I was thinking about this as the new year rolled around. Hear me out. So, if you don't know, the reason we have leap years is technically it takes the Earth another fourth of a day to, rotate around the sun. Meaning, if it's the year after a new year, then New Year's is technically 6 o'clock in the morning on January 1st of that, new year. And then it's 12 in the afternoon the next year. And then it's 6 at night the next year. Yada, yada, yada. Because you have to account for those fourths of days. It's not actually 12 o'clock midnight. We've been lied to by scientists. Dang science. Always lying to me about when I should be causing a ruckus. Also, I talked to Elvie about this, but I recently put this playlist together because I need more playlists to was thinking of to play on Spotify while I need a break from the ads while I'm doing art streams. And I want more orchestral for this one. The first one that I've played for a while now is just mostly Sonic the Hedgehog shit, because Sonic's cool. Sonic is cool. Sonic is way past cool, even. But we all know this. Damn straight I'm right, Smage. I did the math on that. While I was working on New Year's. Anyway. But I was kind of worried. I was like, man, you know, I hope this doesn't like, I hope the fucking orchestral vibes are okay. But honestly, they've been all right so far. So not too shabby, if I say so myself, and I do say so myself. My name is Dylan Cahill. I've been speaking for at least 20 years of my life. I'm now 24 years old. I was born towards the tail end of 1999. So anytime there's a new year in the 21st century, my age is typically the same as that final two numbers, except in the last three or so months of each year. Just to be clear. Yeah. But no. That being said, Smage, I am still technically wrong. 'Cause there is no fixed position in outer space, or in 3D space in general. In an infinite 3D space, at least. And while the Earth might be in the same position around the Sun at a specific time at any given point in the year, so long as you account for like that our calendars aren't actually lining up with the movement of the Earth, it's not in the same place in the galaxy. That takes far longer, and we'll all be dead before it happens. And in terms of just Earth being in the same spot ever, that's never happened. Because I don't think the Milky Way orbits shit. I think it's still got that Big Bang energy. I think it saw the episode where Sheldon married Amy, and is still so fucking hyped about that. Is still so hyped about his boy Sheldon Cooper getting married. Because it didn't watch Big Bang Theory when it came out. It watched the Milky Way galaxy watched all 7 seasons of Young Sheldon first, and then started watching Big Bang Theory after that. And then from there, saw Sheldon Cooper marry Amy. At which point, it had been with these characters so long that the Milky Way really had an emotional attachment with them. And that's just been propelling it for eons at this point. You know? So if anyone ever mentions to you about like the aftermath of the Big Bang, and they're like, "Oh, I'm talking about like the scientific title for the start of the universe," you say no. I know you're talking about how much of a fan our universe, our cluster of stars and planets orbiting a massive black hole, how much of a fan that celestial body is of the late 2000s sitcom. Even as a bit, I hate this. Yeah, I lost viewers for that, and that's fair. But I don't give in. I do those bits for the same reason I play Souls games. which is that I don't like to give up. I'm determined and stubborn. And if I truly want to do something, I'll just keep fucking doing it. And it offended me. Yeah, that's fair. Honestly, I feel like sometimes shows like that, any like heavily commercialized, advertised, like primetime show, whether it's like Big Bang Theory, Family Guy, whatever, that's where you can see that no one piece of fiction is ever truly just like one person at work. Because there will be some moments where you're like, yeah, this is fine. And then there'll be other moments where you're like, oh my lord, this is garbage. And that's probably just because they had different people write different parts of those. And they did not bother to kind of match up tonally at all. I could describe how I feel about it. Smage, if I'm being honest, the only reason I want to stop you from explaining anything is because I want to stop talking about Big Bang Theory. So instead, Smage, you may choose the topic of discussion now. Any TOS thing you'd like, so long as it is not relevant to the Big Bang Theory whatsoever. Please let us know what I'm going to be talking about on Smage. On stream, Smage. No. Smage, you said you were like, Cahill would not write this blank check for me, and I responded with you're right. I'll write you a different one. So I'm giving you your blank check. Now, before we go on, Smage, let me confirm your purchase with this gift card I've handed you. You'd like to talk about the stroke I've just had on stream. Is that correct? Would you like to lock in your answer now, Smage? Yes or no? I'm Regis Philbin. This is Who Wants to Be a Millionaire. I'm waiting for Smage with bated breath. With masterly bated breath. You're too young to understand that. I know most game shows from... Wait, no! We're not moving on. Smage, yes or no? Decide. Decide if that's the topic we're talking about. My stroke or different? No. Okay. Then I await the I'm again. I've once again become overly committed to the bit, but I demand an answer from Smage about what I should talk about on stream now. That is appropriate and not related to the Big Bang Theory. It can be game shows if you'd like, Smage. That's a service I offer, but I need your confirmation. Types of animation. You got it. I was fucking... I'm gonna start by talking about Cars, because I've seen a lot of reels about Cars recently, the Pixar movie. And it occurs to me that, like, fucking, I don't think they thought that concept out in any context outside of racing. Because they jump through a lot of hoops in any subsequent movies, and even in the first one. Just to make the world actually work with only cars inhabiting it. But then we can take that and spin it out into a larger point, which is that I love a lot of Pixar movies. Some of them are even the recent ones, even though I would definitely say we're past their golden age. But I linger so much on the damage that something like Toy Story had in the early 2000s on the animation industry. Um, and I do think it's important talking about, because when you look at the last 20 years of animation before the likes of things with Spider-Verse, it got so homogenized by not just 3D animation, but also, but specifically like the kind Pixar was doing, where it was kind of pseudo realistic looking, kind of plasticky, you know, like not very textured, because like that's why they made Toy Story, because they were like, this looks like plastic, so we'll just make a movie about toys. But like that specific style was just animation for 20 years. And there were definitely some good movies, but to say that none of them were visually very exciting, and that for a bit there was definitely more of them that were just like than oh my goodness, I'm so excited, would be an understatement. And it's only now, with the revelation of Spider-Verse as a movie, that we can actually kind of, start moving forward with new styles, because studios have seen like something stylistically adventurous and interesting looking can really pay off. And it's wild because, like, for example, when I went to see the second Spider-Verse movie and they had the cameo from the video game Spider-Man, it shocked me because he was a 3D model, and I completely forgot that the movie was 3D. Like, just how with the style it was in, I forgot that technically, yes, this is a three-dimensional movie made in CGI. Maya, whatever. A three-dimensional computer workspace. But that's why I'm like, you don't need to make every movie look like Spider-Man or Toy Story. Like, I'm doing this in Clip Studio Paint, which isn't necessary. Like, I could do it on paper, but this digital workspace allows me some, some tools that I wouldn't have in the real life that I like having here, even if I'm still trying to accurately emulate an older art style. But it'd be wild to keep having to artistically chain your hands behind your back in animation these days, at least in movies, when theoretically a computerized workspace should allow more freedom of style. Like, you could just make, because people animate 2D in Blender, a 3D workspace. I don't know how they do it, but I've seen and heard about it. And with that in mind, all a 3D workspace should allow you to do is just do a certain style more efficiently, and hopefully cheaper. Whether it's 2D, stop motion, the classic kind of 3D feel, or whatever. But man, executives have really just homogenized the type of animated movie that can be put out there for such a long time. And you kind of hope that's ending, especially with the advent of streaming. Because if nothing else, streaming can kind of allow you to be more adventurous without worrying about it succeeding in a physical box office. But, we'll see. That was kind of about animation style. I believe it was core to the concept. I give myself a B+. Man, I don't miss school. Whatever complaints I might have now about anything in my life, school sucked, and school still sucks, and I don't miss it. It was close enough. Smage, listen, you're a great conductor. You tried to keep that train on the tracks as good as you could. But I'm the wildest ride of the wilderness. So you can't do that much, you know. Related to trains and animation style, I still like the Polar Express. I've seen a little bit of Polar Express hate over the years, and I will not stand for it. I like the uncanny valley. I like the uncanny valley that it calls its home. And I like kind of just the general story and events of the movie. And also, I have a touch of the tism, and I do like trains. Yeah. Well, you already cashed in your ticket, your golden ticket, Smage. So, you're not allowed to now. You're not allowed to make me talk about that. No. I honored your ticket, kind of. Just like Willy Wonka did when he almost kicked Charlie out of the chocolate factory for stealing fizzy lifting drink. But then he was like, gotcha. You did, that was the last test, and you did it. You won my, okay. So, Smage. Now what you and me have to do is go into space in an elevator. And do some real wacky stuff in a sequel that no one ever really talks about. An official sequel that they won't make a movie about before they make an unofficial prequel starring Timothée Chalamet. You won't be in that one, Smage. Because you're the Charlie in this situation. So I'm going to be played by Timothée Chalamet. I'm going to be like, dude, I really liked Dune. And be like, thank you. Some people are divisive about that movie, but I enjoyed it. I got to work with Zendaya. And man, isn't she just a treat. She's kind of like America's sweetheart right now. Man, I took off my shirt a while ago. And I am getting cold again. But that was the goal. So. What am I complaining about? Good question. Man. I hope Timothée Chalamet's an alright person in real life. Because I sure like saying his name. I like saying the two words of Timothée Chalamet. Also, I heard Wonka was pretty good. Like, legitimately. And that's kind of wild, because there are now 3 big Charlie and the Chocolate Factory movies. And even amongst those 3, the Johnny Depp one is just kind of ignored. Because because Wonka clearly is drawing from the Gene Wilder version. Far, far more. Meaning if you really wanted to have a Wonka binge, you would just be skipping right over the depth. And some people will like that, and that's good. And I get that. But A, I grew up with that movie, which doesn't make it good, but still, it does make it the one I grew up with. And 2, it's just kind of wild. And for all intents and purposes, it in and of itself is now just like wholly ignored by its brothers. It literally is a middle child of the Willy Wonka movies. I think I said this on a stream before. Roto Dahl apparently did not like any movie based off his works. And I do think he lived to see the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, like, original movie with Gene Wilder. But also, I've heard he wasn't that great of a person in real life. So with that in mind, I don't think I care about his taste in movies. Speaking of someone with the first syllable Ro in their name, Rodin, the artist, I always forget that the Rodin Museum is here in Rodin. One of them is a kaiju and one of them is an artist. You can decide which one I'm talking about. But the Rodin Museum is here in Philly. And I forget that. And I also forget that the Thinker, which is by far like his most famous statue, is also in Philly in that museum specifically. Because, like, when I was a kid, fucking Ben Stiller, it instilled in me that the fucking Thinker was in the Smithsonian in Night of Museum 2, you know? It was in all the commercials, it was in the one scene, and it was massive. But not only is it much smaller, it's also fucking, like, not in DC at all. It's closer than some art museums are to DC when it comes to, like, America and stuff. But that doesn't make it, like, actually close. It doesn't make it in the Smithsonian. You know what I'm talking about? What else was I thinking of? Apparently, you can see the original art for the first Spider-Man comic in DC. And I want to do that. I learned that on my last trip to DC from the internet while I was leaving DC. Which is a shame. Because I would have liked to see that. But if it's weird, but if you told me, Cahill, we have to erase all superheroes from existence except for 2 of them, what 2 superheroes are staying? I wouldn't even have to think about it, really. It'd be wild how quickly I would answer. Because I would say Superman and Spider-Man. I genuinely think Superman and Spider-Man, for both literary, comic, personal, all those reasons, I think they're, like, they are the 2 best superheroes in kind of an objective, all-around sense. And with that in mind, if it's just like, well, all superheroes gotta go but 2, I'd be like, I already have the answer. It's been in front of you the whole time. Some people would say Batman. Batman's probably close, but I don't know. He makes the short list to, you know, to erase, to be saved from total erasure from time and history and space. But he's not my number 1, the same he would be other people's number 1. No, I'm sorry about that, LV. Hopefully it stays better. Has my internet been okay? I can't actually really be checking it with my new setup. Oh, yeah, my internet looks fine so far. Oh, hi, Stream. Stream, it's you! Stream, it's you! Down you go. No, no, no. There's definitely Batman stories and adaptations and such, you know, specific Batman material where I'd be like, this is artistically and historically important. This takes higher priority than lots of other superhero media. But I'm not about to write a blank check for Batman the same way I am for Spider-Man or Superman. That's very cold, Alvy. But Elvie, you live in Europe, right? So, it's gonna be cold here too, but I don't know if ours is gonna, our weather is gonna match up. In Germany, I see. I hope you like Germany, Elvie. No, Cahill, she lives in Germany. Smage, I don't know how to tell you this. Germany is in Europe, right next to New Zealand. That's good. I've heard good things about Germany, honestly. You know, everyone's like, they're the bad guys in every film ever because of history. I'm like, that history is important, but also not a reflection of modern Germany. And what I've heard of modern Germany is very good. Always look out for people a little too obsessed with World War II, folks. You gotta keep your eyes peeled for them. You know? Heck yeah. Well, I mean, first off, Germany's architectural. So, I was thinking, because y'all know, big fan of the concept and work of Disneyland, the original theme park. And not only does Germany contribute most of what the world knows as fairy tales, but like its architecture is just entirely the Fantasyland section of or at least, you know, older German architecture is just the entire Fantasyland section of Disneyland. But I mean, on top of that, I don't know, I've just heard different things. I feel like if I'm like, oh man, that sounds like a good thing, it's typically like Germany did this, or some up north country like Greenland, the Netherlands. It's just like, this is one of the happiest countries ever, and everyone gets free healthcare. I think specifically what I'm thinking about in that good relationship to Germany is free college. I don't know where education stands on the hierarchy of needs, but I'd say it's pretty important. So a country ensuring that everyone gets, you know, free higher education is a super good thing. I'm trying to think. They pay about 3 to 5. Oh! That's still not bad, Elvie. Especially considering that in America it's expected you go into debt. So America is fucking, you will go into debt when you are 18. It is the norm. It is the norm, you are expected to. Which we all love. Everyone here in the US of A is so wild about that part. But I don't know. No country's perfect. Hello, Kingfisher. I've said that before. When I talked about the idea of like moving somewhere. You know, it's just like every country has problems. If there was an objectively perfect place to live, I imagine most people would probably be living there now. That might be New Zealand. I should do more research into New Zealand. Yeah, Liechtenstein. Heck yeah. Man. You know, I played Marvel Snap for a little bit at the beginning of this year. I would do more of that, and I would do streams of it, honestly. It's a pretty simple game, and I can fucks with it, but it's also not like, you know, I'm not just like game of the year. Let me sell my soul to this fucking idle game. You know? It's no Genshin Impact. Not for me, anyway. Yeah. I think it's so interesting, because if you pay attention, like, looking at that castle, I mean, there is the clear comparison to the Disneyland castle, but also, very clearly the Disneyland castle was meant to be seen from a different sort of view, and that one is more meant to just be a building. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's lesser. The opposite. It's the real deal. But Disneyland Sleeping Beauty Castle was meant to be photogenic from the angle basically everyone sees it from, whereas that castle was built because it's a castle. Yeah, exactly. It's built to keep people out, which, to be clear, makes it even more impressive how beautiful it looks. But it's interesting because when you're paying attention to it, you can see that Disney's castle, while still very impressive, especially considering the time it was built and the precedent on which it was built on, is clearly meant to be kind of photogenic, whereas this castle has the same aesthetic and beauty to it, but it is now a 3D model. It is all around. Yeah. I mean, that's no shocker, LV. I mean, if anyone hasn't heard, it is cheaper in some... because, you know, most places are in a monarchy now, including fucking England itself. There's plenty of abandoned, like, palaces and estates in England. And some of those are cheaper than just typical American houses. And yeah, sure, they're run down. But how much if buying it would be cheaper than a house, I feel like I'd probably be invested a little bit in getting a castle. Yeah, yep. That age does not surprise me. If you're like, yeah, he didn't live there long. then 200 years, like, yeah. Seems right. You know what I should just do? So one of the ways I think it's important, one of the things I think it's important to do, in order to make sure these animations are emulating old cartoons correctly, is to make sure that whenever something is staying still or otherwise just, you know, it's the same thing on screen, not just to move it or copy and paste it, you have to draw it at least twice to make sure that small human errors and certain details are caught in the redraw that make it kind of wiggle a bit, which is accurate to how they would draw things, you know, for classic cartoons. Because they would, a lot of times they would just have to draw the same thing over and over again because they weren't able to copy and paste shit. But with that in mind, what I can do here is I can make the end pose for this, what Walt is doing here, because I want to do Walt first, and then I can draw kind of Willie's little dance to the side, especially since he's cut off at the bottom there. Do Walt's first, do the end pose here, and then just copy and paste certain parts of it to make sure that it's getting that wiggle in. Let's do that now. Yeah. Well, so here's the thing. One of the reasons I was thinking about the Disneyland castle is because if I want a theme park, as I so do at some point in my life, as is my ultimate goal in all of life, I was like, what the main attraction should be? And one of the ideas that come to me is a Spanish fort, you know, like a seaside fort, because of these two goobers. I'm like, if this cartoon were to be of a size that would warrant a theme park, then the theme park itself should in some way reflect the cartoons. And I'm not going to give it all away, But for sure, one of the challenges you have to kind of contend with if you're doing, not a castle, is that it has to still be good to look at despite not being a, a princess castle. Yeah. Also, me and Elvie were talking about Disney at the start of it. And Disneyland, I mean, that's the pinnacle. If you've never been to Disneyland or any version of the Magic Kingdom, I would highly recommend the original just because you'd probably get a better idea of what I'm talking about, kind of, I guess. I don't know. I might be a crazy person. In terms of a fucking revolutionary idea for entertainment and for just a fucking activity to do, in terms of a you know in terms of like, hey, I got an idea, I want to do something cool with my daughters, fuck yeah. It's wildly overkill, but also incredibly inspiring, again, at least to me. She's very beautiful to me. Still don't consider myself a Disney adult, though. Because trust me, I'm sure at some point they'll probably ruin Disneyland. But I went there last year, and it was, I still was like, yep, nope, very good. I've only read the papers. I've only done the experiments and the simulation. But now it's just like the simulations. Walking through the park, I'm in a clone helmet. Not because Disney bought Star Wars, but because I'm always wearing a clone helmet, saying just like the simulations, because it's just like the simulations. Man, I love the clones. Some of them are assholes. But most clones from Star Wars, love those guys. Well, that's not very fun at all, Elvie. Don't do that. I've always said, in cases I didn't clear on stream, I think there's a lot of cool stuff I've read has given me a lot of inspiration from the golden age of Disney. So long behind us. But your goal no one's goal should ever be to stay in the status quo. No. I should be better. I can rebuild him. Faster. Stronger. Bigger penis. If you're gonna do that, LV, I would appreciate it if you DM it to Smage instead of putting it in chat. Especially if there's sensitive content related to that. I hope that's understandable. What was I thinking of? Yeah. Honestly, if there's one... Get back to animation styles for a minute. If there is one specific animation style I would seek to specifically bring back, it's late Disney Renaissance 2D animation. Don Bluth, all that shit. If you've never looked at a late 90s animated movie, 2D animated movie, and fallen in love, then you're lying. Then you're lying or you're the devil. And I don't trust you either way. Have a good lurk, Smage. Appreciate you stopping by. Like I said, y'all just being here makes my day. You don't need money to have a good time, and you also don't have to be naked to have a good time. That's a song I quoted, and I don't know what song it is. Sometimes I just have a song in my heart that's trying to get out. My doctor tells me it's a tapeworm, but fucking I say it's a song. Man, all kinds of parasites. When I was a kid learning about the wider world, kind of unsheltered from people not wanting a baby to hear about gross things, the two things that scared me were tornadoes / just general big storms and parasites of all kind. Like leeches, man. I was always on the lookout for leeches as a kid. I was so sure that I would, at some point in my life, encounter a leech and it would be so gross. And then I never did. And that makes this a good story. But yeah. You just had, I mean, I feel like part of the reason, because I've heard other people talk about having these kinds of fears as a kid. Part of the reason for them is for things like tornadoes and maybe even certain animals. They're not painted as something that, like, you know, solutions have been invented for. You know what I'm saying? They're more painted like near unstoppable just forces of nature that you will have to encounter at some point and will just annihilate you. You know? Like, because you'll learn about, like, an earthquake-proof building or something. You know, something meant to negate the sway of the sway and shake of an earthquake. Yada, yada, yada. And all that kind of stuff. At some point. But when you're a kid, different things are presented as just like, this is very bad and powerful. Could not be stopped. Meanwhile, like, one of the reasons tornadoes aren't a kind of constant, everyday, top of the mind threat to so many people is because it can be real hard for them to form, especially to such a dangerous degree. You know what I'm saying? Tornadoes not only need specific conditions to be met, but furthermore, they need to, like, have clear open space, lots of things to be of any real danger. So much so that even in places like one called Tornado Alley, like, they do damage, but they're not just like, the world is ending. Chicken Little. So. And I mean, for things like parasites, like, there's plenty of bad parasites, but at least, like, leeches specifically, you know. Some people are just like, yeah, I got a leech, and then they just take it off. Unthinkable to little me. Oh, for sure. I think that's very common. Learning that the sun is not, in fact, a permanent fixture of the universe. Very scary. Very weird. But then you kind of realize how long human history is. How long all of Earth is. And realize, like, oh, we still have that amount of time plus some more, probably, until that sun there explodes. So, we'll be fine. We'll be fine. Taxes are gonna kill us before the sun does. It'll be fine. My gas bill is gonna get to me before the sun ever does. Please. Hey, what are you doing in this situation? Shows you a video of the sun collapsing into a hell portal. It's like, I guess fucking nothing. You know, that's probably one of the things that draws me more to cosmic horror. Um, like, because that's what the comic is inspired by, cosmic horror, more than the cartoon is. Like, even the cartoon has some in there. Um, but like, because the things that would scare me as a kid were just learning about stuff I didn't think were real, and so far beyond me, that probably had some effect on me throughout life, even if I got over the specific fears. Honestly, so, like, there's lots of theoretical inventions for space, like the Dyson sphere, which, for anyone who doesn't know, is just the general name of any device that manages to both encircle and harness the near complete energy of the sun. It doesn't have to be like a complete structure, but just something that both manages to basically colonize the sun. Um, and with that in mind, I don't. There might be papers on some kind of like engine to keep a star artificially going for extended periods of time, if not forever. But I've never heard of them, and I'd be interested in that, even if there's no real applicable thing to it. I would argue, because we were talking about Earth and the Sun moving through the galaxy earlier, and I'd argue if we could make a device that could indefinitely keep the sun going, or take its place at some point, again, near indefinitely, then we have then lost a need to kind of leave the solar system, you know? Like, we don't need to leave the solar system. The solar system is ours. It is the spaceship. All the little planets and Earth and everything are now apparently here to stay. And I imagine if we can make a device like that and put it into action, then we also have the power to move it, which in turn would move the solar system. I know I've seen from Kirk's Gesagt that they did their own research paper about the idea of making an engine that could move the sun itself, which is more so focused around like taking all the stuff the sun already emits and trying to focus it in a specific direction, which would then in turn move the sun. You know, if you shift the balance of everything going in all directions to more one way, then all of a sudden things start moving. But the idea of just like changing the sun out like a light bulb, I think is even cooler. Bring it more under control, be like, we got this. This is our home turf. We put up a sign outside the solar system. It says YMCA. It's like, welcome. We have pools and activities. It's like, yeah? It's like, yeah. More in space travel, you know, there's always been discussion about trying to broadcast out into space to try and see if anything notices and if there's other intelligent life that would in turn, you know, manage to take notice of us and communicate back. I wonder if kind of like the activity necessary to take control of the solar system as a whole and bring it under our direction, if that would be enough on its own to generate notice from any other intelligent life, should they be looking for such things like we are. Or if just like, since we're pretty sure there's no more intelligent life here in the solar system, then does that mean like already what we're doing, sending out signals, should that already be enough to get someone's notice, and just causing more activity interior to the solar system like wouldn't really change much? It's like, no, you're still in your own little bubble. That sounds dramatic. It sounds like, what, we haven't done anything? I mean, fucking, the only notable thing, physically at least, to venture beyond the solar system is Voyager 1. And that's one device from the 70s that they did a little planetary gravitational trick with to slingshot it out. We haven't really bothered giving it much more a go since then, which, to be fair, you're basically just hurling stuff out into where we could never get it again, so it's kind of understandable why you wouldn't just keep doing that. Heck, one, in the grand scheme of things, with the way the universe and space is, one might as well just be as good as 1,000, you know? Like, it's so big that if some miracle is gonna bring one craft out of 1,000 to another intelligent species, might as well just bring the one out of one there that we send anyway. Space is big. Especially if you're working from, like, like a point. For all intents and purposes, Earth is kind of like a singular point in the universe that then any craft humans are sending out is coming from. And even if you were to launch something from all surfaces of the Earth, one craft for every little inch of Earth, by the time they left our solar system, they'd be pretty far apart from each other. And the further they go, the further apart they'd get. So you'd have to think about that, sending more craft out, You can't just shotgun blast it. That's more wasting materials than it is helpful. Your shotgun blast is probably less likely to hit something in space than a more carefully aimed blast. I can add a stroke there too. But Shadow Mage wasn't here to notice. Shoosh. Space is interesting. Especially when you think like that, Like, not just because Earth is smaller, but also because it's a globe that things come back around on. You can kind of just wander in a direction and find something eventually. But with space, it's so dang big that if you just wandered into a direction, no destination in mind, I don't think you get anywhere. Especially if you actively fight gravity, you notice gravity's pulling you one way, so you actively correct to stay on course in a accurately straight line, relatively straight line, straight enough. You're probably just liable to fucking drift into space for millions of years. If you hit anything at all. And for those who don't know, there are places in space currently considered unreachable by science. Not just practically, but physically. Because of how the Big Bang works. Oh no, we're back on that. But yeah, there's places in space where just because for anyone who doesn't know, speed of light is as fast as anything can go. If there's something faster, we sure don't fucking know about it, and you could question if it even exists at that point. But that being said, there are places already so far from us that we know exist, but are traveling fast enough that even if you were to go there, traveling as near the speed of light as you could get, fucking, you'd never get there. They'd already be gone. They'd be on their way. I imagine if because again, light's as fast as anything goes. So even if you were quote unquote catching up, that you'd still end up catching up so slow and having to travel so far that saying you'll never get there is still an accurate enough statement. There are spans of time where it takes so long and numbers become so nothing that forever and never are about as good of a description of them as possible. Now, I know I've heard that applies to black holes mostly, because black holes theoretically will like poof out of existence at some point with a way part of their system works, but that would take so long that not only like are we not going to be here for it, theoretically nothing else will be here for it either. And that's interesting to think about. In my opinion, just like, dang, you're telling me that this thing takes so long to die that fucking we might as well say it'll never die anyway? You're telling me this big thing over here can take just about whatever, can gobble up whatever you're gonna throw at it and fucking eat it and just not care forever, basically? What a wacky guy. I was thinking about this when we were talking about space before. What's the name of the black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy again? Give me 1 second. Also, it's weird because I'm talking about this and like maybe someone out there might be a little like me and might be like, man, I'm sad because there's places in space I'd never go. One, not only have we never even gone beyond the solar system. For a while, we thought that the Milky Way was all there was. You know, obviously, you could say the solar system, but there were stars. So even with a bad model of the universe, we knew there was more stuff. But even beyond that, we're just like, well, Milky Way's about where it stops for us. And then we were like, wait a minute, what's that over there? At the center of the Milky Way. Sagittarius A. Okay. I wanted to say Alpha Centauri. But that's wicked a star. That's a star, not a black hole. And I don't think it meets the qualifications to become one. I'm sorry to say. I don't know, maybe stars are happy about that. Maybe they're like, I don't want to be a black hole. Overrated, in my opinion. They're just big guys who do big guy things, and that's fine for them. But I have other plans for myself after I die. Space is fun. Space is fun. I do like to think that there is a way to kind of cheat. What was I thinking of? To kind of cheat the speed of light thing, you know? A teleport, if you will. I don't know if like Stephen Hawking or anyone, who was one of the big names in those theoretical physics, ever talked about it much. Because wormholes are the big thing, you know? Of like, if you wanted to get somewhere faster than the speed of light could take you, a wormhole is kind of like a hole. It's a hole. It's just another hole. It's a kind of bridge in between two points in space. So it just physically shortens the distance. In a very simplified manner of speaking. But I like to believe something like that exists, you know? Like, I guess if we at some point are just like, nope, we've done all the science. You can only go as fast as light, and there's no getting around that. Then I'd be like, okay, well, guess that's not an option anymore. But some kind of little doodad that gets you around it would be cool. I was meaning to ask someone smarter than me. So anyone who's looked into black holes or space might have heard about spaghettification, because it's such a fun word, which is like where you get turned into spaghetti strings because the black hole's sucking you down so hard. But with that in mind, like I believe I heard not too long ago that like that happens because technically the black hole isn't this big sphere you see. That's the event horizon. The black hole is the ball in the middle. That's just all the stuff getting squished together. The event horizon is just where it's like light can't escape because it can't go that fast. But if the epicenter, that thing in the middle, is as big as you are, like you could just get sucked in whole. And I know for a fact that like there are places where you get squished because there's so much stuff on top of you and pressing down on you. I was like, is that how a black hole works, or is some kind of wacky physics going on? Because wacky physics is just how you would describe black holes in general. That means like, no, you don't actually get squished. You know? The big thing to overcome getting close to a black hole beyond gravity, I know, is the accretion disk, which is largely stuff around and getting sucked into a black hole, mostly gases, getting spun real fast and heated on up to a point where they start glowing white hot, as hot things are wont to do. Which is how you see a black hole, because otherwise it's just pure darkness. So you'd have to survive that giant storm of garbage first before you were even started getting into the nitty gritty of like, okay, time to go into the hole itself. I've been talking about holes so much this stream. But I wonder if you could have some kind of suit or vehicle that is able to withstand that, but small enough to still theoretically be fitting at the center of the black hole. Would you then be, you know, if you can make something able to withstand the conditions just outside the black hole, would you then in fact be able to enter it and then never leave. Because that's the other thing. Even if you manage to survive this whole thing I've been describing, since light can't get out of there, you would never be able to get out. You would just stay there. So if it's not like a gateway to somewhere else, like I was talking about with wormholes, then, you know, which is another theory. Then good luck. Good luck to you, sir. Sir or madam, currently entering a black hole. I'm trying to think. I'm gonna assume that the little hop should be like 4 frames. Like it should be a simple animation of them freaking the fuck out. But whether or not it's a simple animation, I think I'll do that another time. I'll go chill out. Now, go hang on out by my lonesome. If that's alright with everyone. How about I... Oh. No. There we go. Let me go. Let's find someone good to raid. Why don't we? I sure do like finding good peeps to raid. I do believe I saw someone doing a draw pile. I believe it was Gam. But at the same time, he started that a while ago. And Smage is streaming. Smage is streaming Warframe. This is hard, because I really like to draw piles. But Smage deserves a raid. I'll raid Smage. He's a good sport. He deserves it. And it's been a while since I raided him. Maybe if I didn't raid Gaming Company as much as I do, I'd be like, I'll treat myself. But I raid them a lot, and I like Smage, so I bet better to raid him and show him some love. Thanks, y'all, for joining me. I hope to see you tomorrow. Tomorrow we're getting back to Bloodborne. It's been a minute. I did farm up some material, so make sure we're not worried about a resources problem. And then we'll be much more suited to be on our way to that platinum trophy. So I hope to see y'all there. I'll see you then. Bye.